Let's go to the backdoor cut and quickly touch on the NBA Finals and the championship. The Milwaukee Bucks are your new NBA champions. They were able to win last night's contest, Game 6, to earn the title. First championship for the Milwaukee Bucks in 50 years. Their last title was in 1971, so second time they brought home the title to Milwaukee. Interesting run for the Bucks. They lost the first two contests in Phoenix and then won the final four games, including that crucial game 5 at Phoenix a few nights ago, and then last night in game 6. Biggest takeaway is Giannis. And incredible story from him. Picked outside the lottery. If you know his background story, his family immigrated from Africa to Greece and was really a relatively unknown player. Even coming into the NBA, he was drafted in the middle of the first round as a raw project. I mean, you saw his size and athleticism, but really not much else. Comes into a Milwaukee, I don't want to say a small market, but compared to some of the other markets of the NBA, your New York, your Chicago's, Los Angeles, it's not. I would say probably only Portland is in San Antonio, maybe the only smaller market, well, Sacramento. But bottom five as far as market size, I would say in the NBA. And he goes into that franchise, uh, starts off with Jason Kidd, some ups and downs there. Mike Budenholzer goes there, takes over as head coach. Get Middleton. They trade for Drew Holiday, and it's a right place at the right time. It all comes together. Last night, 50 points, I think 14, 15 rebounds, 5 blocks. Just a dominant performance by him last night, and really in the last few games of the series, like he was the best player on the planet, definitely on the court, for those contests. But a big deal for Milwaukee to win the championship and to take it home. I think that, and I saw Giannis afterwards saying he was with a small market. He won a championship, did it the hard way. And I mean, credit to him for that. And I'm not going to say that they're not going to win another championship or this was a fluke. I don't care how you win a championship, whether it was a few years ago with Toronto when they were able to defeat Golden State, with Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant when they were injured in those finals, to last year in the bubble in Orlando with the Lakers winning that championship, even back to 1999 when you had the Spurs win the championship in the abbreviated season 50 game regular season in the lockout year. I don't think you look. I don't ever take away a championship from a franchise because all the teams are playing under the same window or under the same conditions. But I think that this is going to be more of an anomaly than a reality. Yeah, I don't like injuries. I don't like using it as an excuse, but you got to look at that and acknowledge that there were a lot of injuries that took place in the playoffs and even in the regular season that led to these teams winning. And I'll get to the Bucks in a minute because they had their injuries of their own. But you start with the Nets. James Harden with the pulled hamstring, Kyrie Irving with the ankle. They were never the same or consistent in the playoffs, and they underperformed. You had the Lakers, LeBron working his way back from injury, Anthony Davis with his groin in that Phoenix series in the first round. Played a few minutes in the final game of that series, was out for the rest of that series. Phoenix able to move on. You look at the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, him with the partially torn ACL. He was out for the rest of that series that they were playing against Phoenix, and they lost, and Clippers lost that. You just go to Philadelphia. I know Embiid had the meniscus tear, but he was still playing, but that really hurt them. Atlanta, they were doing quite well in the making the East Conference Finals. Trae Young twists his ankle, misses 2 games of that series, tries to play Game 6. He's not the same guy. And Milwaukee had their own injuries, and they lucked out because I remember watching that in Game 4 against Atlanta when Giannis was going up for that play up to the rim and landed on his knee. I thought he tore everything, or not everything, but I thought that okay, he's going to be out for the rest of the playoffs, and maybe he tore something very bad. And knee injuries are a weird thing, and I've worked in athletics in the past, and I've seen players. tear ACLs or ligaments and walk off the court like nothing. And I've seen people have bone bruises and like what Giannis ended up having, I guess a hyperextended knee, and you think their leg was cut off, yelling in pain, screaming, all this other stuff, and you're like, man, they're going to be out for a year or two, maybe their career is over, and they come back and play within a reasonable amount of time as far as rest and recovery. Now, Giannis, when he walked off the court, that was a good sign, but still, you never know. But he did an MRI, and he did miss the rest of the Atlanta series. And credit to the Bucks for able to beat Atlanta in that series and make it to the finals. But I was like, okay, maybe Giannis can come back in game 2 or game 3 when the series comes back to game 3 and comes back to Milwaukee. He's gonna miss the first few games. He plays started that finals game 1, and you can see him working his way back into form because you don't come back from hyperextended knee like that and miss games, especially when it comes to the playoffs, and just go back to your dominant form. But Milwaukee lost those first 2 games. Phoenix played really well. Booker had some big performances. You saw DeAndre Ayton. He played really well. Chris Paul was doing his thing. And you're like, man, Phoenix is in a really good spot. But then starting in game 3, you start seeing Giannis put together what he did. And just tremendous run by him on both ends of the court. And as I said last night in the 105-98 victory over the Suns in game 6, 50 points, 14, 15 rebounds, 5 blocks. That's just complete dominance. And also making free throws. He only missed 2 free throws last night. I think he was 16 of 18. I mean, you do all of that, that puts you in the category of the best player in the league or in that conversation, whether it's LeBron or Kevin Durant. He has to be in that conversation, in that discussion. And you look at what he's done so far in his career, but under the age of 27 or 28, 2 regular season MVPs, a defensive player of the year, and now a finals MVP. Only guys that have done that in their career, I think, I know Jordan did it, and I think Kareem has done it. And that's it. I mean, it's a list that is very, very small. So he's putting himself in a conversation as an all-time great. And if you've listened to the show before, you know my theory on that. I don't like to do the all-time great conversation until someone retires, and you give it a year or two, and you're like, okay, you could place him in there. So I'm not gonna say he's in the top 10 or top 20 yet, but he is putting himself in a very, very good position. So that was a very big win for the Bucks and earning that championship.